All right, here we go. Welcome everybody. Again, it's Tuesday, 5 o'clock. My name is Mike Patel with Home Service Central YouTube channel, and I do this live every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So I'm glad that you joined. And for those of you joining us later, glad to be here. Let me turn on a Instagram live. Thank you, and make sure that I can. Let's see if you can hear us. Okay, yeah, they can. You can hear us. Okay. I'm excited about today's program, and I always say that because I'm always excited to be here. I've got a very good response on this channel, on this live. I get a lot of comments. I get calls or direct messages after the show. So I love doing this show. But most importantly, I'd like to give you information which is pertinent to you and it is current. So today, to help me with our topic, which is, let me read the topic so I don't read the wrong topic. It's boom towns gone bust. What homeowners and sellers need to know. And I'm sure in your area, either your area has gone boom, nothing's happening, or it's a lot of things are happening, or they've gone bust. Sunbelt is kind of slowing down, and Northeast areas are actually picking up. But we'll talk about later. First, I wanted to introduce my special guest. I've known her for a lot of years. She's an awesome lender. She works the Orange County area and nationwide. She's very well respected by all the realtors that I know. So, Gucci Singh, introduce yourself. Let the audience know who you are and what you do.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me. I'm honored to be here and to be able to share my knowledge. I've been in the industry. My name is Gucci Singh. I've been in the lending industry for residential lending,
Mhm.
1 to 4 units. We'll just say over 30 years.
Wow,
I kind of
long
leave
time.
it
Yeah,
at that. Yes.
yeah.
So late 80s, and I started out in the processing and went into underwriting and then loan officer, management, and everything. So I pretty much have done every single role out there,
Right.
which really makes me understand the whole process from beginning to the end. So I'm really happy to be here and have this discussion because I love discussions like this.
I know. So, like I said, our topic is pretty interesting today and pretty different than our usual topics. But before we get there, I wanted to find out what you think because you talk to so many buyers and sellers who are thinking about selling before they buy, before they come to realtors, they talk to lenders like you, right? And you talk to a
Correct.
lot of lenders and a lot of realtors. So, last couple of weeks, the interest rate did not go down as much as they wanted to. So, two things I wanted to find out what your opinion is based on you talking to so many buyers, sellers, and realtors. Number one, what was the impact of the last 2 weeks based on what they were expecting? And overall, in the last year or so, how much has the mortgage interest rate made a difference in a typical buyer who can or cannot afford a home?
So I can get very technical on it. I'm very passionate about it. I understand it. So I'm going to try not to get it's and then stop me because I love talking about stuff like this.
Okay.
So so if you look at I actually did a comparison a year and a half ago versus where we are today. A year and a half ago we were on a national average. Is that we're talking about national average in a conventional loan, we were at 7.75, and we are now national average is at around 6.25, 6 and an eighth. So interest rate in last almost 2 years ago has gone down about 1.8% in interest rate.
Hmm.
That's not a lot if you really think about where we were. Everybody's comparing everything from 2021 and 2022, right? Then interest rates were in the high twos, low threes, and that's where everybody's thinking it's going to go. In order for the interest rate to go that low, we would have to have some sort of a pandemic. If you really look at every time that the interest rates have gone down that low, we've had some sort of a crisis in the world or in the country or something like
Right.
that.
Hmm.
So that's where we're at as far as interest rate. Now, in the last few the Jerome Powell spoke a couple of days ago, and a month ago he cut the interest rate by 1/4%. Then last week he also reduced it by 1/4%. Now, when he talks about interest rates and he's reducing the interest rate, he's talking to general consumers, and where it's impacted is U.S. prime rate, which is tied to home equity loans and car loans and credit cards. It really does not affect the mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are impacted by stocks and bonds. When the bonds are not doing so great, people pull money out of the bonds and they dump it into the stocks. When stocks doing really good, mortgage rates go down. We're doing really good. When the bonds are not doing so great, everybody pulls out of the bonds and they put it into the stock. Mortgage rates go up. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind when we're looking at interest rates. Another thing is that lenders usually they will preempt it, meaning they know that feds are going to reduce the rate. So if we are predicting that feds are going to reduce the rate, we preempt it and we adjust the interest rate. And what they'll usually do is they will drop the rate by 0.25%. After feds are done talking, they'll bring it up an eighth. And it's one of those things where they're still working on it. So consumer thinks the rates are really going down, but it's not. So, and also when we're looking at mortgage rates, there's so many different factors that are taken into consideration when they're quoting an interest rate, FICO credit score, type of loan, type of property, loan to value, and all of that. So mortgage rates have not gone down as much as everybody was predicting, including us. Right. We were rooting for that. So
okay, cool. Now, if I was a buyer and I cannot qualify at 6.5, could not qualify because prices are high, rates are high, my property tax is going to be high. Now that they drop to 6.25% or somewhere around there, how much difference does it make as far as the pool of buyers coming into the market? Or to a second question, or revising that question, is at what point or what interest rate drop will we see a lot of pool of buyers coming in?
I think it comes down. I don't think it's as far as where do we need to see the interest rate. I think it's becoming more of an affordability factor, right? So as the interest rates continue to go up, people will expect generally when the properties are going up, rates are going down. So it makes that adjustment so people can afford it. What happened after the pandemic is rates went back up. Property values did not drop. Property values either stayed where they were or they kept on going up. So it's not so much the interest rate. Honestly, if everybody's waiting for the interest rate to drop to bring it to an affordability factor, we would have to look at interest rates in the high 2s or low 3s to bring it back to where we were. So it's more of a it's the three variables, right? The loan amount, the interest rate, and the term of the loan. So some of the things that we can start looking at as far as making loans more affordable, prices are going to be where they're going to be. And I'm sure we're going to talk about more about the prices and all of that. But prices are going to be where they're going to be. How much money are you putting down? You can look at 40-year loans. You can look at interest-only payments. Those are going to extend the term out. That means your payments are going to be a little bit lower. Interest only, they also have 40-year. We have 40-year interest-only loans. So terms extended, and then you can do interest-only payments. And that makes payments a little bit lower to where it's more affordable.
Exactly, right. So there's options out there if they want to go. Personally, I'm not sure if I want to go on a 40-year loan, but hey, it's a new thing, right? It was like the car. Well, when I first bought my car, way back, they used to have a 3 or a 4 year. Then it went to 5 years. Now it's 6 years. So, hey, I'm sure it'll come to 30 years pretty soon.
Right. So it comes down to like, what is more important to you, monthly payment, or you want to pay off your mortgage as soon as possible?
Exactly.
If you want to pay off your mortgage as soon as possible, you can get a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, or 30-year loan and pay it off that way. Or you could do a 40-year loan and then budget yourself and pay more towards the principal and pay it off sooner. Just because it's a 40-year loan doesn't mean you have to keep the loan for 40 years. And I want to point something out. Being in the industry as long as I've been, an average American does something with their loan or their home every 3 to 5 years. So some people get very stuck on, I want to do a 30-year loan only because I don't want to extend it out. And then they put themselves into where your payment's really high. But then 4 years in or 5 years in, rates drop. They refinance. We do another 30-year loan. It ends up averaging about 40 to 50 years before an average American pays off their mortgage, if they do.
If they do. Wow. Something good to know. Yeah. It adds up to a lot of interest payments. Statistically or mathematically speaking, if you buy a house for $400,000, you end up paying at least $800,000 or $900,000, depending on your interest rate. And if you refi, you're going to end up paying $1 million for a $400,000 house. That's a fact. I mean,
Correct.
Right. Anyway, let's switch here.
And we can get into how you can avoid that. there's plenty of ways how you can avoid that. You can manage it yourself and control that,
Right.
and how you can pay down your principal way faster than how your lender has it set up, because
Hmm.
the lender is requiring minimum payment that they want
Right.
over the term of the loan, but
Right.
you can accelerate that by doing
Right.
certain things.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Well, let's switch some gears, and I'm going to read an article that I came across, and this is the my topic today is based on this article I came across on Business Insider. It just came out October 22nd, about 10 days ago or so. Wow! Can we believe we're in November? Holy, holy! Well, I won't say it, but it's amazing how
Yeah.
time flies. But what I wanted to talk about, it talks about. Let's see, where is the topic? The topic is going, the boom town's going bust, right? So let's
Correct.
see, read the paragraph and see if it makes sense. Just a few years ago, housing market in the warm, sunny parts of the US looked well, warm and sunny. In the Helicon days of 2021 and 2022, cities like Austin, Tampa, Phoenix, and Atlanta attracted swarms of movers. I'm sure a lot of them were from California. Home listings reliably drew multiple offers above the asking price, and the buyers plunked down all cash offers to fast track their purchases. I'm going to read further because I want this to make sense. Um, Flash forward to today, November 2025, and the big winners of the work from home reshuffle, metros that drew hordes of footloose workers, and disaffected coastal dwellers have turned into losers. Fewer people are moving to so called Zoom towns. Home listings are piling up on the markets. Prices are dropping. The anxiety has shifted from buyers trying to elbow their way into sellers just trying to offload their properties. A, a new report by the real estate analytics firm Parcel Labs or Parcel One Labs, shared exclusively with Business Insider, shows that home sellers in the lower half of the US, also known as the Sun Belt, are the most desperate in the country. So I wanted to chat with this with you. Does this make sense to you, or what do you take of that, what you're reading here?
Yeah. So what happened was in 2020, when we went shelter in place, everybody went remote. I mean, our team did the same thing, our company did the same thing, and we actually, once we got acclimated and we realized how nice it was to stay at home and work, then we also started realizing, oh my gosh, I don't think we have enough space to do all things that we can do, because now you don't have to spend that hour and a half getting ready, driving to work, and then another hour and a half coming home. So you've got additional 3 to 4 hours a day with
Mm-hmm.
the daylight that you can do extra things around the house. So then people started realizing, I need yard, I need more sunshine, I need bigger space, I need office, I need a man cave, I need a she shed or whatever. With that in mind, people started traveling to all these different locations where they can get bigger, more for their money, and also be able to have bigger yards and bigger barns and whatever else. So that was the boom part of it. And everybody went to certain areas like Austin, Texas, and Florida, and Arizona, and Tennessee, and all of those areas, because those were, but it's kind of like the inflation where everybody rushed to it. So supply and demand, right? The
Mm-hmm.
demand was really high, and people kept on like, oh, you were selling properties within 20 to 48 hours. And so everybody rushed to it. And then we all had to go back to work. And all of a sudden, we don't have that extra 4 hours a day to maintain your yard or to take care of a house or anything. So what are we doing? Now we can't maintain the property, and we're not home, and we don't need it. So we're like, okay, we got to move back and downsize of what we have to do. Everybody's putting it back on the market. They have to commute to work. And so again, supply and demand. And now the supply is high,
Right.
demand is low.
Exactly. So, absolutely right. That's what's happening. A lot of people from the East Coast and the West Coast and the metro areas and a higher priced area like our area, Orange County, right? Medium home prices, not everything's $1 million, right? If it's a house. So
Correct.
when they sold 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were 600, 700, but the medium home price nationwide was about 300. So people in
Mhm.
California, Bay Area, New York, Chicago, Miami, all those people sold, or who could not afford there moved to Louisiana, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, all those bottom states because they were cheap. What
Correct.
happened was, as more buyers went in there, inventory got low, prices started going up. And here's another
Mm-hmm.
thing that happened that's really impacting right now, and this is my opinion. So we already know that the Sunbelt prices were here, and by 2025 they're here, or 2024 they went
Mm-hmm.
up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's another thing that happened in 2024, and this is a nationwide. What happened to property taxes on average? They did not rise, they skyrocketed, right?
Correct.
What did happen to mortgage insurance, home insurance? They did not rise, they did not skyrocketed, they way skyrocketed. If there was a newer home or a townhomes or a new home community, what happened to HOA because of insurance? That skyrocketed. So all these skyrocketed, and all of a sudden, the people who are moving even to Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, they could not afford that homes because another thing happened, right? The rates went from 3, 4 to 7%, 6%. So all of a sudden, builders were cranking homes, and now they have an oversupply. So I think this all hit one time. Prices went up, affordability went down, tariffs went up, political favorability, unfavorability, toxicity in socialism, or all that. And I'm going out of my range here, but all this affects. If I'm a consumer, if I don't feel comfortable about the economy, about the politics, about where the social we headed, I'm not going to buy. People
Correct.
cut back, and people are cutting back. Case an example. I'm sure you as a lender has heard how many companies have announced layoffs. I can name five.
Yeah.
Microsoft,
Mm-hmm.
10,000. Amazon, 13,000. Because of
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, UPS, 12,000. Target announced yesterday thousands. What's
Mm-hmm.
happening to Starbucks? They're not laying off, they're closing shops, 500 worldwide. So when this is happening, if I'm a buyer, I'm going to scratch my head. Gucci approved me for $450,000 loan, but I'm pushing and shoving. What if I get laid off or my wife get laid off? I'm going to hold off.
Correct.
And realtors see this firsthand. Sellers are telling us, you know what, Mike, let's wait till January. Let's let the market cool down. This is their words. Buyers
Mm-hmm.
are saying, well, I'll wait till the sellers come down. Sellers are saying, let's wait on dropping the price of selling until the market cools down. So there's not a crash coming. I did a TikTok live, and one of the things I said in there, the market is not crashing, but the market is readjusting, and the market is freezing. And I think that's where we're at, whatever that means.
Well, so in real estate, I always say real estate is like the weather, right? If you go closer to the ocean, the temperature might be 70 degrees, 68 degrees. You go a little bit further in, the temperature might be, a little bit warmer, and then go into a high desert or whatever. It's like windy and super hot. So I think that's how real estate is. So some areas it's softening, some areas it's flattening, and then
Mm-hmm.
some areas, like Orange County, California has always held its own. Even during the mortgage meltdown in 2008, Orange County held its own. So it comes down to the area that you're looking to purchase in, or the area that you're trying to buy, sell, and get out of. Not all areas are impacted. So that's why I always say, well, it comes down to what is important to you, where you're located, where do you want to move to, what are you comfortable with as far as affordability on the payment side of it. Everything is possible if you're working with the right people and you're actually analyzing and breaking it down and customizing it to what's important to you and what's comfortable for you.
Right, exactly. Right. Let's go on further on this article, which is pretty. So I read this one here. Let's go back here. Housing market in the Midwest and Northeast. I mentioned earlier, right? Midwest and
Right.
Northeast.
Mhm.
On the other hand, are going strong. Inventory in those parts of the country remains tight, and prices are up. Homes are selling at a brisker pace than the rest of the US. The cities didn't garner much attention during the pandemic. How many glowing headlines did you see about Buffalo, Cleveland, Milwaukee, or Detroit? Well, I never heard of them, right? But
Right.
sellers there have quietly held onto their bargaining power. By practically any measure, the country's real estate leaderboard has flipped. Absolutely right. The Sun Belt was booming, now it's slow, right?
Right.
The northern part is higher. Is there a reason why they're moving there other than just the price? I mean,
I think, well, first of all, social media is a double-edged sword, right? It is fantastic. It's amazing. It's available in the palm of your hand. On the flip side, social media can also be detrimental to you. And I say that because you listen to all these people talk. Anybody can get up there and do their lives and all of that, but what are their credentials? So
mhm,
there's a lot of hypes that are created, a lot of fear that's created, and so you always have to be watching. As we do this here live on social media, you have to be watching everything intentionally and make sure where your source of information is coming from. So what's
correct.
happening is people took their equity. Let's say we'll use West Coast from California. They took their equity from California, and then they'd say they moved to Arizona, Tennessee, or Florida. In the last 5 years, they lived off of that equity and the money that they made. They maxed everything out. And now they're thinking, oh my gosh, my payment's too high. I'm not building any equity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell this property here on the Sun Belt, boomtown area. And then I'm going to go to another part of the country where homes are not as crazy. And then I'm going to go buy that. So it's shifting of equity and also just making their money work. And they're like some people say, well, your house is not an ATM. You can't keep pulling money out
Right.
of it.
Right.
Most people do use it as an ATM. And you know what? I'm not against that. Not because I'm a lender, but it's
Yeah.
just like if you were to invest in the stock market, you would pull money out of your annuities or your stocks or whatever if it's needed and if it was doing really good. Real estate is an investment, just like you would invest on the stock market. So if
Hmm.
that works for them financially, if it makes sense for them, if their kids are now grown and they need to downsize, there's so many different reasons that people are doing it. But I think it's more because that market held its own, it didn't inflate as high as, and it didn't get as crazy. Now people are like, okay, I'm going to go over there and I'm
Hmm.
going to, do this. I actually was watching a comedian talking about it, and he was basically like, if you're leaving somewhere and you don't like how things are over there, don't bring all that over here and make this place that place. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's what people are doing, and it works for them. And also life changes, right? They're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're having kids are growing up, going off to college, they're going into retirement age, and at that time they're either wanting to go into a single story home, more of like California and Florida. We're doing a lot of multi-story homes where there's
Hmm.
stairs and stuff, and they're looking for ranch style homes. So it's life changes that's really what's moving people, and
Right.
also affordability.
Yeah. Affordability. Yeah. So
Mhm.
do you think, and of course, we don't have crystal balls, but switching subject, well, not really. When it comes to affordability, interest rate is everything, right?
Yes.
So come December, Feds, I mean, our Trump administration is kind of forcing, pushing, shoving the Feds to reduce the interest rate to 3%, 4%, which I don't think is going to happen. Absolutely not. Uh, but let's say it drops to 5%. Where do you see it going? And of course, you don't have a crystal ball, but based on talking to lenders and your lending companies and institutions, where do you see it happening? Do we see green light as far as the mortgage rates are concerned?
I don't see the interest rate dropping down that fast in next 60 days.
Okay.
One thing that we need to keep in mind is Jerome Powell's term is coming to an end in May. So he's going to get termed out, and we are going to get a new federal chairperson. And the new Fed chairman is already has been selected by the current administration. And as we know, the current administration wants the interest rate to go in a certain direction. So I'm going to assume that he's bringing somebody that's going to listen to him. So we as lenders, we're banking on the new chairman coming in, hoping that he's going to reduce the rate. That's not happening until end of May. So we're looking at summer of next year if we're going to see a drastic change or something. And even then, the adjustments have to be made gently and slowly so that we don't have a huge roller coaster of what's going to happen. So I don't see even the new chairman coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to drop the rate to 3%. It's not going to happen. I think
Right.
it's going to be slowly happening over the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay. So,
And I think we will land, if I was to predict,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a prediction and this is a Gucci
Yep.
commentary only. If I was to predict, I think eventually in the next 18 months we may land at 5.25. You
18 months,
know,
not in June,
12 to
July.
18 months. Oh no, I that because we're now talking, that's a big drop, right? And if it does, that's great. But I think it's going to be softly done in the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Because here's the question. When it comes to interest rate, it's a monster. Housing market is what, 17% of GDP, almost. The housing market, the
Right?
real estate is
Yeah.
17%, which is
Yeah.
huge, a big chunk.
Right. Right.
And of that, interest rate plays a big role, right? So the question is, let's say whoever's coming, I don't know, I didn't know, but let's say whoever's coming, Peter's coming in as a new Fed chairperson, and he
Right.
or she, if it's Peter or if it's Cindy, whatever, he or she drops the rate to 5%, 4%. Let's talk about the Titanic, right? US economy, US inflation, US employment, US stocks, US consumer spending. It's a Titanic. You can't turn the Titanic right away. It takes time. For it to turn around, it's going to take a long time to turn. You cannot make it turn. So, what happens if the rates do drop to 3%? Yes, forget that you're going to get refinanced and the lenders are going to be shouting and the realtor is going to be busy. What will be the negative impact of the rates going to 5% or 4%? Forget 3%. What's the impact on the economy, the inflation, employment, stocks, etc.? And I know we're not economists, but you know,
So I'm going to give you a not a question, the answer that most people would give. Um, I don't see it being a negative impact because if the interest rates were to drop to 5% or below 5%, a lot of people, we have a lot of equity. We are currently sitting in a lot of equity in the homes. Majority of the people have maxed out. If you look at the consumer debt as far as car loans and credit card loans, we have over $3 trillion in debts outstanding out there. A lot of homeowners are investment rich and cash poor right now. What I see them doing is doing a refinance or doing a home equity loan and paying off their credit card debts and paying off their car loans, which is going to put them in a better position as far as monthly cash flow, right?
mhm,
So yeah, you might have a 3% interest rate on your first mortgage, but what are you paying on your credit card and what are you paying on your car loans? So
mhm,
if you do a blended rate of it, and even if your interest rate was at 5%, but if you were to take all of your consumer debt and combine it all in one, your monthly cash flow is going to be much less than what you're paying. And I
right,
think that's actually going to put people in a better position. And what
mhm,
happens when you have monthly cash flow improves? When your monthly cash flow improves, gives you more buying power,
right,
right? So
right,
now, if let's say car payments, credit cards, and mortgage payment was $7,000 a month, and we were able to combine them all and drop it down to 5%, they now saving $2,000 a month. That compared to what their income is, so their debt versus their income has been reduced. It allows them to be able to now go buy another property, maybe a bigger property or in a better area, more affluent area, or whatever it might be. I feel like consumers are way more savvy nowadays, are very
mhm,
educated. Information is on the internet. So I don't see this being a detriment. I think if we were to drop it down to 2% interest rate or 3%, then that's where we can see a little bit of a chaos out there, where maybe possibly we're creating a bubble. But rate dropping to 5% is not going, it's actually going to be great
right,
for consumers.
right. So NAR, National Association of Realtors, back in August came up with a statistics. They said that if the rates drop to 5%, what's going to happen is up to 2 million buyers who cannot buy right now, they're going to enter the market. Those are the people who are waiting for the prices to drop, waiting for the interest rate to drop. And all of a sudden, because it went from 6.5 or 7% to 5%, darn, they can buy a medium home price today of $427,000 in US today.
Correct.
When you have 2 million buyers pushing in, floodgates are open coming in, guess what's going to happen? We're back to 2023, 2022, multiple offers. Sellers are going to get greedy. Hey, 400,000, I got 10 offers. I want 450. And guess what? That buyer who's been waiting for 3-4 years is going to pay 450, 460. So guess what? I think if that happens, all the buyers are going to come in, the floodgates are going to open. And in a few months, within a few months, home prices are going to go up, and that's going to knock them out of the market again.
Well, back to supply and demand, right? So
Supply
for
and
people
demand,
that are
because
sitting,
inventory is low. Yeah.
right. So people that are sitting there like, I'm waiting for the interest rate to drop. Well, okay, the home that you're going to buy today, what is the price of the home that you're going to buy today versus a year from now? I always have this exercise. I do this exercise with my pre-approved buyers. Let's take a look at a property that you are looking at. Let's look to see what it was listed for, and Zillow and any app out there kind
Hmm.
of tells you how much,
Right.
what they were sold for over the last 5 years or whatever.
Hmm.
It will never go back down to where it was originally sold for. Number one. Number two, when the demand is high and supply is low, all these 2 million buyers coming in, the chances of you paying the price that the property is listed for today is very little, right? So
Hmm.
you're going to probably pay another $100,000 on top of what the property is listed today. So we can do the math. A quarter of a percent or 1% of an interest rate on $400,000 versus 5% interest rate on $500,000. So
Right.
keep in mind, price that you pay for a home is a permanent price. Interest rate that you're paying, while it may be a fixed rate over a 30-year term, it's still temporary. And the reason is you can always refinance and lower your interest rate. You
Hmm.
can never pay a lower price on the home that you already paid for. So if
Right.
you bought a house today for 450,000 at 6% interest rate, a year from now, rates drop, homes in your neighborhood are now going for 550 because everybody's sitting there competing for the home. You're still at 450,000 that you paid, and you just go back to the lender or call me or call any lender and refinance and lower the interest rate. That's where you're being really smart. You're buying low,
Hmm.
maybe a little bit of higher interest rate. What you have to do is you have to be comfortable with paying a little bit of a higher interest rate and the payment for next 12 to 18 months, and know that when the rates drop, you can always refinance and lower the payment, but your
Right.
price is what you paid for today.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. We got a comment from JF Enterprise. That's not his name, but this is the second time I heard of prices of homes rising due to those conditions. You two explained it more thoroughly. Well, I'm glad you uh, you understand, and we were clear about it, because that's what we were talking about. To take a side kick on it, Gucci mentioned earlier, there's in social media there are a lot of people who say things, and I'm not going to name names, but I can name right now 5 YouTube channels that have 400,000, 300,000, 500,000, 1 million subscribers on them, and direct message me, because I'm not going to badmouth them. All these guys are telling you things that is fear based, telling you something that's not going to happen. Hey, crash is coming. It's going to be worse than 2008. Oh, crash is coming. It's going to be worse than depression. And I'm sure if you're on YouTube, you've seen those. So don't believe those kind of channels, because they're out there to make money with ads and being influencers and selling affiliate products. I have 5. I follow them, by the way. And what they say, I don't say, because I want to educate myself. I'm not here to make money on YouTube advertising, selling you products on YouTube. I'm in real estate. I want to give you information so you can make a better decision if you're buying or selling or refinancing. That's how we do business. We give information. I go to a lot of events. I meet a lot of people, and I get clients by giving them the information, answering their questions. And Gucci, I've known her for 30 years. I haven't known her for 30 years. I've known her for at least 15 years, but she's been in business for 30 years. She's a very highly respected lender out there. So when you listen to something from these kind of people, and I'm not saying we're the best, but we're better than a lot of them that have a different outcome of their YouTube channels or TikTok channels or Facebook pages. I mean, have you seen any of those channels, Gucci, or do you follow any?
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it a lot. Actually, no, I don't really follow any of them, but I know my clients have told me about it. So fear mongering is a real thing, and we've learned that over the last 5 years how we can really get people scared, and people do
Mhm.
how they react based on fear mongering. That's where you have to make sure that you really have to think, and you really have to do your own homework and really think, what is happening, market. So when somebody says, 2008 meltdown's going to happen, another one. You got a question that you have to ask yourself, and if you don't know the answer, you need to go and do the research. What was the root cause of 2008 mortgage meltdown?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the same thing with the depression. It's in the word. It's going to be happening same as the Great Depression. Let's go back and study and review what does the Great Depression mean and what happened and why did that happen. We came out of a world war, right?
Yeah.
So what if you go back to the beginning of what we were talking about earlier is if like I said, if the rates were to go down into twos and threes, something big has to happen, a crisis
Mm-hmm.
has to happen.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. We are way smarter. While the social media and the news and everything's telling us that we're weak as a world and we're fighting or whatever, we're very smart. We're not going to go into a world
Yeah. Yeah.
war. So
Right.
the meltdowns is not happening. Depression is not happening because we're not going into the war.
Right.
Just make sure you're educating yourself and don't fall in those traps
Right.
because they have ulterior motives of what they're trying to do
Right.
versus there are people like you and I that we're all we want to do is what's inside here for last 30 years. We want to take this and plant those seeds into everybody else and just share the knowledge because what are we going to do when we die? It just goes with us. So what's the goal here is to transfer it over to people and plant the seeds out there and give it to the world to continue, moving forward and growing with all
Right.
the knowledge that we've collected over the last 30 years.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, let me go back talking about the recession. I just want to, I'm not going to prove them wrong, but let me give you some reasoning coming from Keeping Current Matters, which I follow. They study data and give us reports and things. So let's look at 2008. And I was there, Gucci, you were there. We saw the meltdown. We saw people suffering. We saw people losing homes. We saw people losing mortgages. We saw the disaster happening. But let's
Yeah.
compare inventory right now. Right now, the inventory is at about 3.7 months. And this is 2024, the inventory supply, which means that if no other homes come on the market, it would have taken in 2024 and 2025 4 months to sell the home, which is pretty, I would call still a little bit of seller's market because they have the upper hand. Hey, you don't like
Mhm.
my house or my price? Go take a hike. That's what they're going to
Mhm.
tell you. Like
Mhm.
the last 3 homes I've sold, from the last 6 homes, there were multiple offers in Orange County. So there is a shortage of inventory. Why did we have a recession in 2008? Of course, there was, toxic loans, unemployment, high prices and everything. But look at the inventory in 2008. They had a supply, it shows 10.4, but I've seen reports where the supply was as high as 11.8 months. So
Mhm.
look at where we are. Look at where we were in pandemic times. We were low, historic lows.
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
is when the interest rate went low, right? In
Mhm.
2023, 2020, coming out of
Mhm.
2022. Um, the 1993 to 2023 average is 5 months. And in real estate, we call a normal market, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, at around 6 months. Right now, the inventory is less than 6 months. It's a seller's market. When the inventory goes above 6 months, it's a buyer's market. Of course, if you break it down between the Sun Belt, if you look at the inventory right now in the Sun Belt areas, there is 3 or 4 or 5 months supply. Orange
Mhm.
County, we don't have 3 or 4 or 5 months supply. We have less. I bet you in Northeast, and I haven't checked it, but in Northeast and Midwest, we don't have 5 months supply. We have much less. So, you know, the whole point was, and the reason we're discussing this is there's a lot of information out there. We're in the social media world. There's Instagram and TikTok and X, and then you have the CNNs and the Fox Newses and all that. Those news is not news today, right? And that's why you have to be very selective and very careful who you share, who you listen to. Even we are saying things, we could be wrong. Check us out. Don't just say, hey, market's not going to crash. I'm saying that it's not going to crash. This is my belief. At least until 2026, I don't see a crash coming. If I had to guess, I have my reasons. I don't think we'll see a crash till 2028 where the inventory will go up. But hey, that's my opinion. I have the right to say that, but you can check me out. You don't have to believe me. And before you believe me, check it out. Talk to other people. Call Gucci or call your local realtor, call your local whoever, expert. But get information and make the right decision. But I know one thing, the buyers today, you have the Zillows out there, you have the Redfins out there, you have the other these YouTube channel gurus who are pushing wrong information. And today, more than ever, consumers, forget buyers and sellers, consumers are confused, right? They are
Yeah,
confused because
and
there's
you,
over
and
information and misinformation.
correct. And if you look at
Mhm.
the chart, it goes up and then you see it go down and now it's going back up. So it's going to continue to climb. And what that chart is telling you is that the
Can you see it
inventory is
better?
rising, meaning more properties are coming on the market. Sellers are trying to sell their property
Mhm.
and buyers are not biting so much. And I think there has to be a mindset reset right now where sellers need to realize, okay, homes are going to sit on the market a little bit longer. I actually pulled some data. I was working on another project and in Austin, Texas, uh, inventory has gone up by 25% in the last year.
Just in
That's a
Austin.
lot. Yeah, it's in Austin. So, property, it's just all those people that went there and they had a great time. And then they realized, okay, well, we don't like whatever they don't like. And now we're going to move on to the next best thing that is in the Midwest or Northeast or wherever they're going. So, if you look at the chart, inventory is on the rise. It's going to continue to go on, be on the rise. And what that means is that, more and more homes are going to go in the market. But then when the rates drop, buyers are going to come in. They're going to buy. People need to live somewhere. And if you
Exactly.
really look at the rental market, an average two-bedroom townhome or a two-bedroom apartment actually right now in North Orange County is about $3,200 a month. I think if you go closer to the ocean that you go in Orange County, they're about $5,000. So once the interest rate drops, it's the people that are paying anywhere from 4,500 to 5,500 or even $6,000 a month in rent can easily buy. They're used to it. They're not going to go into payment shock. They're all going to come and that's where you're going to go back into the bidding war. So
Exactly.
buy low, even if the interest rate is high. And when the rates drop, just refinance.
Yep.
Get ahead of the craziness. Don't
Right.
be part of the craziness, is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Exactly. Right.
But
Right.
really, sit down and have a discussion with a trusted realtor. Sit down and have a discussion with the trusted realtor and a lender and say, all right, here's my short-term goal. In the next 2 years, I want to be here. Here's my long-term goal. Here's my 5 to 10 year goal. And then when the kids are grown up or when I retire, this is where my goal is. Then your realtor and your lender is going to be like, all right, I want to work with your short-term and long-term goal. Let's do that based on the information that you gave me, what your goal is, where you want to be, and what
Right.
you're currently paying. Let's get you on that path.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to share a screen right now. You can see that, but I'm going to come back to this screen. But before that, since we were talking about sales, I want to talk that if you're a seller today, or if you're thinking about selling,
Mhm.
what does all this mean to a home seller, right? Couple of things, and I want to just mention this and see which one hits you the most, or we can talk about that, Gucci. So if what it means if you're a home seller, if you're thinking about selling, break it. Here's some pointers. Number one, you have to price it correctly. So your pricing have to be a reality. You can't ask for that much if the comparatives are here. Number two, you have to look at your timing. You know, spring, summer, maybe a better time in states like Denver or Minnesota when it's really cold because the
Mhm.
market slows down. So think
Mhm.
about that. If you're in a rush to sell, don't put your house on the market in winter when it's snowing, right? Because it
Correct.
affects the sale. And then also look at your negotiating power. How much do you want to ask for? You want to ask for a little bit more to negotiate, etc. What are some of the things you would recommend a seller today, Gucci, to get prepared to sell, whether it's 6 months from now or a year from now, as the market changes, as the consumers change, the thinking changes, and they have misinformation? What are some suggestions you would give to home sellers that are preparing to sell?
So, curb appeal is one of the biggest things, right? The first thing you walk in and a human nature is first thing is your eyes. You see what you see, smell, right? All of your five senses. So if you think you're going to be selling and you're thinking about selling, you want to have the top dollar. Obviously, everybody wants to make the top dollar. Start working and cleaning up and start thinking in your mind that you're moving. And if you're moving, start packing away all the knickknacks, start packing away all your trinkets, start depersonalizing your place and really making it look like everybody wants an HGTV at this turnkey kind of thing. So start going around and fixing things and really preparing your home if you want the top dollar, if you were the seller, and really start looking and doing your homework, talking to a realtor and say, okay, I'm going to sell in the next 6 months to a year. Can you come and do a walkthrough, as in that you're going to take the listing and point out the things that you think that I need to work on, and get a professional to give you an advice on like how to prepare your home for listing. There's certain health and safety things that needs to be in place in order for you to list. And then termite is another thing that you need to look at. Are there water damage? Could there be mold issues? Could there be foundation issues? All of that you're probably not thinking of. You're living in there. It's a normal everyday thing that you're seeing. You need a new set of eyes that comes in and evaluates and says, here are the things that you need to work on. And it might take you up to 6 months to prepare all of that.
Right.
And then you can also associate, okay, it's going to cost me $5,000, or I can whip that out myself, or it's going to cost me 30,000. Do I want to do that?
Yep.
Right. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
But I think the key is, no matter what, your house will sell if it's priced right? Even if it's a fixer house or it needs a lot of work. If my house needs a lot of work and the same house sold next door for $1 million, but mine needs a lot of work, needs paint, needs carpet, new appliances, I haven't changed it in 40 years, it'll sell if I sell it for 900. Or if I have a lot of upgrades and I have a view and I have a pool and that house does not get it, I may get 1.1. So every house sells if it's priced right?
Correct.
There's a buyer. There's a quote that I have, but I'm not going to say it because it's a very good quote, but it's a little bit, I should not say it, so I won't say it. But for every house, there's a buyer, no matter what, as long as it's priced right?
Well, I'm about to say something, and I hope this is not what you were thinking. The buyers and the sellers create the market, right?
Exactly.
If the seller's willing to sell for this dollar amount and the buyer's willing to buy for this dollar amount, they are the ones that create the market. Exactly. And then obviously the lenders, when they're looking at it, we do the market analysis. So whichever way the market is trending, we use market analysis in the appraisal, and that's how we come up with the comparables and come up with the property value. So if the buyers and sellers are creating the market, we're, we're going to keep moving forward. And pricing the property to sell. And the longer it sits on the market, people start thinking, well, why has this been sitting for so long? Why does nobody want to buy it? And then just because you're like, let's overprice it, and then I'm not too worried about if it's going to take us 6 months to sell it. That's not a positive thing, because people are like, what's wrong with this house? Why has it been sitting here for 6 months? And they don't think that it's because it was overpriced, that the seller wasn't in a hurry. They always think that something's wrong with the property. So just because you're not in a hurry doesn't mean you can't just slap a sales price and see if somebody bites. That doesn't work.
You got to price it right. Here's some of the things that I have a seller's checklist. First of all, check your local days on the market. How long is it going to take? The market might have slowed down, so it may take 3 months to sell, versus in a hot market, it may take 30 days. So check the local market before you list. Review your comparable active listings in the area. They might have all be dropping prices. So when you list it, don't list it high. Price it to sell within 30 to 45 days. The other thing you want to do is, the very important for you to consider is the market doesn't care what you paid. You might have paid $800,000 and put in $300,000 worth of work or whatever. It cares about what the buyers can afford. That doesn't mean that you're going to sell your $1 million home for $700,000. That's not going to happen. The price of the house is what the buyer and the seller agree on. If your house has been sitting there for 6 months, it's not selling, it's telling you something. There's 10 reasons the house does not sell. The number one reason, and 95% of the reason, is the price, right? So if the comps are $1 million and you're asking for 1.2, I can spend $1 million advertising, which I won't, by the way, but your house is not going to sell because the buyers are not stupid today. So
we do have some very savvy buyers. It doesn't matter where in the country we go. And the reason is because information is available in the palm of your hands. All you have to do is click on the internet and here it is, And with AI, oh my gosh, AI does all the research for you. You don't even have to go to any of the websites. You just need to go ask ChatGPT, AI, whatever question, goes out, does the research, comes back, says, here you go, here's your data.
Hey, Gucci, are you saying that they don't need me anymore if it's their AI?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so that's no, I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah.
because I actually have been doing this for a long time and I'm very embedded in the real estate
Hmm.
community, and I teach and hold meetings and classes and stuff like that. And one of the things that people need to understand is, I know a lot of people are thinking that real estate agents are going to be extinct because AI is going to take over. One of the things you have to understand is um, real estate is a physical thing. We need to be able to enter the property and need to be able to go and look at it. AI can take you so far, but beyond that, you're actually going to need a real estate agent that's going to go and actually look under the sink and open up certain things and look at the foundation. They're going to look at and go, okay, you need to make sure that we get the sellers to do this disclosure. We need the buyers to do this disclosure, because what's going to happen if you go through the AI and let's say somehow we did get an artificial intelligence to sell the property for you, and let's say you move into the property a year later, you have a serious foundation or a roof problem, who are you going to go take to the court?
Take the AI.
Right? Right? You can't take the AI to court, number one. Number two, I work with so many really great agents, and they really do. They are in it for a long haul. Their relationship, their personal, they understand this is your home, this is your money, this is your family, this is where all the memories are built. And they are very passionate about it. And their goal is to be long-term client and eventually become friends. And then some people become family for the long haul. So they know if they sell you this house and they don't point out a few things that's actually going to become an issue, um, 6 months from now, you're going to be at their house having a glass of wine or a cup of tea or coffee, and they're going to say, hey, Mike, you sold me a bust because look at, I have a crack in the foundation or whatever.
Hmm.
So we understand this is very personal and very emotional, and it is your family that's going to live in there. And I believe going forward, people are actually going to want to work with real estate agents and somebody that's there, that's real, that's going to look out for you and point out things that AI can't.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And on that note, because you have to find the right agent, I just want to let you know that if you are thinking about selling or have any questions, with no obligation at all, I belong to the top 3% of the agents nationwide. I belong to a networking group. If you want to talk to a lender or a realtor in your neighborhood, for a lender, you can call Gucci because she does it nationwide. She has contacts nationwide. But when it comes to realtors, I can refer you to a realtors that know what they do. And one thing I want to mention that you mentioned, it's not just experience. AI cannot negotiate for you. So you want a realtor who knows your area, who knows how to do business, who knows how to negotiate and protect you. Let me know. There's a link in my description. I can refer you with no obligation just to talk to them. So keep that in mind. One of the things I want to mention also um, is that when it comes to selling, you must have a goal in mind, right? What's your timing, right? And you mentioned that. Prepare ahead of time. You know, sometimes what happens is people get promoted, right? And they have to move in 2 weeks and they scramble to get the house ready. It takes a long time to get a house ready. You
Mm-hmm.
got bathroom, you got kitchens, you got yard, you got roof, you got cluttering, you got personalized pictures, you're doing your work. So if you're not in that situation, I have sold homes when they have to sell in a rush, they have to sell
Mm-hmm.
it lower than that. So if you're thinking about selling, whether it's next year or 2 years from now, start preparing now, start talking to the realtor now, so that you can do the gardening a weekend at a time. You can declutter your room a room at a time, a box at a time. You can fix a sink one day or one weekend. You can fix a window screen that's got holes in there, the mosquitoes come in, a weekend at a time. Give yourself some time, put some sweat equity into it, or call a handyman. I can't do anything work, so I call a handyman and fix little things, little things. Give yourself some time, because selling and buying a house is highly emotional, highly stressful. So give yourself some time, and it should not be stressful as it is. And
Mm-hmm.
another reason to talk to a good realtor is they'll know how to handle you and your stress. What
Mm-hmm.
do you think, Gucci, on that?
I think you have to be very realistic about everything. Have you tried even packing up your room, and you don't realize how much stuff you have until you have to start packing, right?
Right.
So you do have to be realistic about, oh my gosh, I have a lot of clutter, I better start cleaning. You also have to be realistic about, okay, I know the direction that the market's going. There's homes in my neighborhood that are sitting longer, so I need to understand that my home's everybody feels that their home is very
Mm-hmm.
special, right? And rightfully so. It is very special, but
Yep.
it is still going to sit in the market just as long. And let's hope that something crazy doesn't happen and homes don't sit longer.
Mm-hmm.
So be realistic about the fact that you have to start cleaning up. Mentally be prepared that this is no longer going to be my house. I'm going to start packing up and marking the boxes. This is kitchen. This is bathroom, bedroom, or whatever. Decluttering. So then a person, when they walks in, if I'm walking in the house and I'm looking to buy, I need to be able to see and visualize myself living in there. If I
Right.
walk in and I see everything about Mike and Mike's family and everything else, I can't imagine myself and my family living over there, because your footprints and fingerprints are all over the place, and this is your home. I don't see how I'm going to make it mine. But if you take all that down and bring it down to where people can walk in and go, oh, I can see myself there, and I can see my daughter being over there, or my dog over here, or whatever it might be. So you want to make it to where people can walk in and be able to see themselves living in that house. Be realistic about that. Be realistic about moving. Be realistic
Mm-hmm.
about how long it's going to sit on the market, and really be realistic about the pricing. I mean, I know we keep bringing that up, but know the market. Do
Right.
your research, and an expert. That's why you hire an expert. They will do the CMA, the cumulative market analysis. There's
Mm-hmm.
multiple different ways that the realtors can do that. Lenders don't do that, but the realtor will do, and it's pages and pages of it. But they do a full market analysis and tell you why you should list your property at a certain price to move it.
A word of caution: don't go to Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and say, oh, they're saying it's worth $1 million. That's not the right price. Because I can guarantee you, do it on your house. Go to Zillow, go to Redfin, go to Realtor.com, go to Trila.com, go to OpenDoor.com. Put in your address, put in your square footage, your bedroom. Guess what? You're going to get 5 different answers. Which one is
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you haven't called your realtor yet. They'll give you the right answer. So just a side
Yeah.
note.
Well, the thing is, it's really easy to hide behind the keyboard or hide behind a screen and talk big numbers. But when a realtor has to come and sit down and do a face to face with you, and then you have to see him or her every week face to face, that is hard to do. So that's why it's real, right? Versus hiding behind the screen, you can say whatever you want, say what anybody wants to hear. Is it real? Well,
Yeah,
time will tell.
time will tell. Yep.
And
Yep.
it's a risk that you're taking.
Exactly. Yeah. So while we're talking about buyers, I wanted to bring this screen up, right? It's from Washington Post. It says here, because we're talking about buyers now, let's switch gears. We talked about sellers and preparing. Let's talk about what's happening to the buyers, because a seller cannot sell a home if there's not a qualified, willing, and able to buy buyer, right? So many Americans can't buy homes, get jobs, or move in this stuck economy. That's not me saying, that's Washington Post saying. This is as of September 2025. The job market is stagnant, and so are home sales. It feels like treading water. Let me read an article, keep going. It says here, a mix of high borrowing cost, dwindling job openings, and growing economic and political uncertainty have left many US households at a standstill, with many Americans saying that they feel unable to buy new homes, take new jobs, or move to new cities. Uh, what's your thoughts on that article, Gucci?
So the buy it well that's it comes down to, again, the buyers, right? They're going to go wherever the affordability factor is. So and also keep in mind, it's also the jobs. So jobs, and that's what it's talking about. We went from being 100% remote to now we're either hybrid, or we're forcing them to come into the office. And so that's one of the reasons. So you will really see where corporate offices are. People are really trying to figure out, okay, well, I need to, the distance of driving, the gas prices, the time it takes to get to work, because we did get very spoiled by working remotely, and we don't like traffic anymore. And it depends on
Right.
what part of the um, country you're living in and driving to and working. So I think buyers are becoming more savvy, and some buyers are not. Um, they don't mind paying the rent if they don't have to do the distance. That's one of the things that I am learning. If they don't have to do the drive, if they don't have to do the distance, they are okay paying for the rent. But they're also sitting there going, okay, well, right now I'll pay $5,000 a month to rent, but I'm going to wait for the interest rate to go down so that the where I'm living right now, I'm going to be able to afford this with, let's say, 5% interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
What they are not thinking is where you're living right now, when the rates go down to 5%, it's not going to be valued at what it's valued at now. The value is going to go up. So your rate might drop, but your property value equity in that's probably going to be 100 to 200,000, depending on where you're at. Some places are going to be 500,000. It's the like I said, real estate is a like a weather, right? Hot places, warm places, cold places. So that's one thing that I think everybody needs to be aware, and that's where I think the buyers right now are very conflicted is a good word, because I think a lot of buyers understand this part, but at the same time they're like, but my god, from $5,000 a month to rent to $7,500 a month, you know, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
the rental market that went crazy.
It's crazy. Rental market is just crazy. And you know what? It whenever home prices go up, rental market goes up, right? Because if I'm an investor, right, and I bought a house, if I'm going to pay high price and high interest rate, my mortgage is $5,000. I'm not going to rent that house for 4,000. I have to rent it at least $5,500, right?
Correct.
But
Yeah.
if the house prices drop, the $1 million house cost me $900,000 now. My rates went down, so now my payment instead of 5,000 is 4,000. I'm going to rent it
Hmm.
for 4,500 because
Hmm.
my mortgage is not 5,000. So the higher the home prices and units, the higher the rent. It goes hand in hand. They always hand in hand.
And look, and somebody's paying somebody's mortgage, right?
Right.
So if you're renting, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Just know that, because when you're renting, they're making sure that their mortgage is covered. That's why they're charging you a certain rent amount. So that's one thing. So you're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're also building their equity for them, because you're going to turn around. So now you're paying $5,000 a month. Let's say we'll use this as an example for next 12 months. That's $60,000 that you pay towards the landlord's mortgage. Not only that, but property value, depending on the area you're in, equity is going to go up at another $200,000. So you just made your landlord, if it went up $100,000, you just gave your landlord $160,000. What could you do with that $160,000 if you could have that?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so, but I get the conundrum that we're in right now as far as affordability. I really do get that.
Well, let me just give you a stat, and not give you a stat, but just let's look at where we are affordability wise, right? And I use this quite often. The median household income in US is $85,000. The median home price today is around $420,000. But to buy a median home price today at around $420,000, income has to be about $127,000, but it's at $85,000.
That's where we haven't caught up. That's where HUD
Exactly.
hasn't caught up. And I actually, oh my gosh, I can go on and on about all these topics. So HUD has all these rules, right? So HUD is housing and urban development. They come in with county limits on when it comes to loan limits and guidelines and everything else. Also, first time home buyers, they have like, if you're a first time home buyer, we can assist you in doing this, this, and this. But you cannot make more, you cannot make more than this much in income. You cannot be this, it cannot be that. Back to what you're saying, the income limit that they put down, they're like, you can't make more than $87,000. But in order for you to be able to qualify for a home in the area that you're looking at, you have to make $130,000 to be able. So
Exactly.
it is a double-edged sword. It's a conundrum that housing and urban development HUD has to come in, and they need to adjust all of that. And Where will that be? I mean, honestly, something's got to give. And we talk about this all the time.
Hmm.
The prices have to adjust. So does the interest rate. We have to meet in the middle. We can't
Right.
keep continue to see the price rising. It's not just an interest rate. It has to be something where we have to meet in the middle.
Yeah. And talking about the discrepancy on the price in the area, let's talk about capital gains tax, because I have two or three sellers. I have a seller right now that bought a house for $1 million in way back in the 80s. The house is worth about 7 million right now. You know why he's not selling? Because in California, you get a big whopping $250,000 credit if you're single, and a $500,000, which to this seller means nothing. If they bought for $1 million and now they're selling it for $7 million, guess how much capital gains tax they're going to pay? And
Right.
that's why they're not selling.
Right. So,
So it has to change, because a house in Iowa or Idaho, they get full credit because the house went from 200 to 700,000, and they get a $500,000 credit. They pay zero tax, where this couple pays a lot of tax, $2 million in taxes. So
yeah. So I'm not a CPA, cannot give you tax advice
exactly.
for me. I know that that would be the case for me. If I was to sell it, it's, for me it's 250 and 500 for married.
Right.
But there is a bill that's currently sitting on the president's desk. Marjorie Taylor Greene is pushing for it, and we're really
Hmm.
praying and hoping and crossing our fingers that it gets signed and approved, which is on owner occupied properties, there will be no capital gains. So
Wow. That's a game
so
changer.
that
Right.
it's coming if it gets approved, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is pushing for that. So
Amazing. Yeah.
imagine if that happens, how many more homes will go in the market?
A lot of them. Because,
Yeah.
you know, even with
Yeah.
property tax, talk about property tax. We in California have Prop 19. If I sell my house today, I bought my house 25 years ago, my property tax, maybe it's not this much. My house value is here, but I'm paying this much property tax. If I sell and buy another house, my property tax will jump from here to there. So I'm not moving. Luckily, I'm a senior and I have Prop 19, so it doesn't affect me. But I know a lot of people are not selling because they say, hey, I'm comfortable with my property tax. I don't want to pay a 5,000 a year property tax jumping to 15,000 a property tax.
Correct.
I sold a house 3 years ago. I listed his house and he was just turning 55. Luckily, I asked him, how old are you? He said, I'm just turning 55 in March. And I was talking in January. I said, holy crap, good thing I asked you. He bought his house in a short sale in 2010 for
Oh,
775. Yeah. In 2010, he bought it in a short sale. It needed a lot of work or whatever. I sold that house for, I don't know what I sold it for. It doubled its value. Then I sold him a house for $1.8 million. Imagine if I would have sold his house and he was paying taxes on $700,000. When he bought the house, his property tax would have doubled. It was $20,000 a month. I mean, $20,000 a year in property taxes. Guess what? We did the Prop 19, and he's paying
mhm.
the property tax of about $6,000. He loves me because I'm saving him almost $8,000 a year in property taxes because
That's
of Prop
awesome.
19.
Okay, so would an AI have told them that? No, right? That's why you need a realtor
Exactly.
that's sitting there and looking at the entire picture and going, wait, hold on. How old are you? I'm looking at you. I'm thinking maybe you might qualify for this Prop 19. Let's talk about that, you know? So that's why I feel realtors are always going to be in demand. And I think people are actually going to need them because things like that cannot be caught by a computer.
Exactly. We save tons of money. And, you know, of all the things you say, the biggest advantage of hiring a realtor is one who knows how to negotiate. And these are the realtors that been in business a long time. They have referral business. People trust them. Their past clients trust them because they bring value to it. So that's why I
Correct.
say if you want an experienced, trusted lender or a realtor, hit me up. My link is in the description, and there's absolutely no obligation, because when you sell a house or you buy a house, you want a right realtor. You want a realtor on your side, and you want the right information, because like everybody else, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you and me both, we have a lot of misinformation. We have to weed it out, and that's by
Yeah.
talking to the right professionals.
Yeah.
Talk to your accountant also. So
Well, and that's the thing, like you bring in a team, right? When you come
Exactly.
in, and if you're going to take a listing, you bring in a team, and these are trusted people that have helped you to close multiple
Hmm.
transactions over the past how many years. And so that's the benefit of hiring a professional who's going to bring in a reliable, trusted team that's going to work for you
Right.
and
Yep.
in your best interest. And they're going to look at the overall picture of where to maximize things, how to stage your property, how to prepare your property, how to price it. And if you're representing the buyer, here are the things that you want to look at. Here are the reports you want to pull on the school or the neighborhood or on the parks and the city. What are the city plans and all of that? You will have all that for your buyer
Right.
because you're going to have already interviewed the buyer with their short-term and long-term goals, children, not children, retirement, not retirement, what's important, what's not. And then you're going to come in with all that and you're going to do all that work for them.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
why you hire a professional. A lot
Right.
of people try to do that homework themselves and
Right.
then they go and tell the realtor, I want to buy that house. And
Right.
you're like, wait, but then, no, hire the realtor, let the realtor do the job for you, let
Right.
them earn the commission and let them guide you because that's really important. There's a reason why we have licensed real estate agents and licensed loan officers. There's certain level of um, expertise and credentials and education that is
Hmm.
required for you to hold that license. For you, it's at a state level. For me, it's a national level, right? So, national mortgage licensing controls that. And every year we have to go through right now, we're actually going through a continuing education class that we have to take on ethics and all of the compliance and everything that we need to do. Same with you guys. You have to do 45 hours of
Yep.
continuing education,
Yep.
and you're upheld at a certain level. So it's important. There's a reason. This real estate is one of the biggest in the industry as far as real estate. If you really look at the economy, the biggest economy for real estate for California and Florida is, you know, all the realtors and lenders and homes
Yep.
and all of that.
Absolutely.
So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. So earlier we talked about the market is not crashing, but it's readjusting, recalibrating, and it's actually a frozen market. So I wanted to bring this chart up. I'm sure you can see it.
yeah.
Let's look at let me. Oh, where is it? What do I do with it? Hold on. I'll bring it back. Right there. So let me
Yeah.
read this out here and then we'll talk about this graph where the market is frozen, especially here, if you can see this over here. But let me read. It says many homeowners, including those who locked in low rates during the pandemic, are in similar position around the country, contributing to the housing market's gridlock. Interest rates for 30-year fixed mortgage are hovering around 6.3%, more than double where they were 4 years ago, easily translating into hundreds of dollars more per month for a modestly priced home. So if you look at over here in 2020, this was during the pandemic, nothing sold because guess what? Nobody can go inside the house, right? We couldn't show them, we
Right.
couldn't go in the house, whatever. That's it. So we won't even look at this graph in 2020. But look how many homes sold in 2016, almost 5.5 million homes sold in 2016, which is a very healthy 5 million homes a year on average has been a norm. It's a healthy market.
Mm-hmm.
When the market hit 2%, 3%, 4%, a lot of people bought homes because they could qualify. If you made 20 bucks an hour, 30 bucks an hour, 4 or 5 people in the house, you could buy a house. And this is nationwide. So the home sales went up in 2022. Look at the peak, 6.5 million, 6.3 million. That was a lot of homes. Then it tanked at the end of 2023, 24, when the rates hit 7%, 8%, right? Even though the prices were still down,
Mm-hmm.
when the rates jumped, the home sales dropped to 4.6, and it has been low ever since then. So that's how I was telling earlier, the huge impact of the interest rate and the gridlock that we have. It's not the jobs, it's not the stock market, it's not the unemployment, it's not the inflation. A lot has to do with the affordability and the interest rates. The interest rates since 2022 are up 7, 8, 6.5%. Right now
Mm-hmm.
we're at 6.25 as of last week. But look at the projected home sales. We're at 4 million. The last 2 years has been the lowest sales in the last 30 to 35 years at 4
Yeah.
million. with a
So,
normal
it's
side
all
hustle.
inflation, right? The cost of everything across the board,
Hmm.
inflation, cost of everything, but the income has not gone up so much.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but there is a turn coming. A lot of younger generations that are up and coming are going. They're finding different ways to make more money and different ways to do remote or side hustle and there's a turn coming for that.
Do you see a lot of side hustle coming? I mean, I hear that a lot. In fact, I have a friend of mine who is a YouTuber, and you know what she does? She teaches you how to make money as a side hustle. And she's a professor, she's an educator, she's a master's degree or something. She
Oh
has a
wow,
YouTube channel and she teaches people how to make money on a side hustle. She has a class on it. So,
yeah.
is it a huge thing that you're seeing coming up as we go?
Yeah, so the new generation that's coming in, they do not believe in there's memes and there's reels out there like talking about the boomer generation, the millennial generation, the Gen Z's and the
Uh
Gen
huh.
X's, and they mimic them how they look like. Our generation, we loved working hard. We did not mind clocking in at
Right.
7 to 3 or 8 to 5 or whatever, working overtime, working weekends or whatever. The new generation do not believe in, they believe in the freedom, they believe in traveling, they believe in experiences out there. They don't believe that they should be spending all their waking hours working. So they're getting very creative and they're using the AI and the technology and everything else and figuring out how they can really live, and job is just the side thing that's a necessary evil for them to be able to live the life. But
Mm,
the life is not about all working. It's the narrative has flipped from what
right.
we used to be in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah, they don't believe in savings. They don't set goals. They live day by day. They go to Airbnbs. You go to Starbucks. There's all youngsters there. You go to the
Mhm.
movies. I mean, popcorn is what, $10 for small, and they're buying. These teenagers, high schoolers, they're
Yeah.
buying. I mean, the ticket.
Airbnb, that's a very good point. Yes, and I agree with you. Airbnb is a good point. A lot of people did in the chart that you're looking at in the 21 and 22. A lot of people bought a lot of Airbnb. Then
Right,
the Airbnb rules changed,
right,
and now all of those are also on the inventory. People are
right.
trying to get out of that now.
Yep,
So
yep, yeah, yeah. I'm one of those that person bought. I bought, and I bought it in the desert, in the Palm Springs area there. And we started as a short term. We did well in 22, 23, 2024. It slowed down. I jumped the gun, and guess what? I rented it out for long term, so we're safe. We had a 2-year contract, so we're not vacant right now.
awesome.
So we're good. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to turn back around, and it really affected the hotel industry. So the hotels needed to get competitive. Because I'm an Airbnb queen. I love
Oh,
Airbnb.
okay.
Take
Yeah,
off, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
We love Airbnb because then you get your kitchen. You can cook, and because everybody's on a health kick
You
about
get a
what's
backyard or a patio or something,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Hotel rooms, if you're like 3 or 4 couples going, or 4 or 5 friends going, you all go in your room and you watch TV. But in an Airbnb, you're in the living room or in the patio, or you're cooking, and you're still together. And cost
right.
wise, it may be cheaper too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Airbnbs. I need to get out more. I'm too busy working.
I
Weekends I'm
am
tied up.
I'm a consumer when it comes to that. I am a
Okay,
consumer. I love it because then I can have my kids there, and
okay,
and it's you're all in one big room.
right. So are you seeing? Because Airbnb went down, do you see an increase in uptick in things, or what are you noticing? I'm sure when you look at the prices and all that, are they still coming up, or are they still struggling, or what?
I'm not getting a lot of financing on the Airbnb
Uh-huh.
request. I'm hearing from my realtor and my referral partners, and also my clients that had Airbnb, that they are actually either trying to unload it or trying to do long-term rentals, but
Hmm.
they are struggling with it, and it has to do with Airbnb fees went up a lot too. So the
Okay.
cost of renting Airbnb is really,
Yeah.
really
So
expensive
I think
nowadays.
I think if you are looking for long-term rental, I would look for Airbnb and ask them, hey, but doesn't Airbnb now have 30-day rentals also?
I think so. Depends on the
Some
area and
areas have
depends
it.
on the
They're
person.
bringing it in. They're bringing monthly
Yeah.
because what happened? Talking about Gen Zs and younger millennials or whatever you call them, the youngsters.
Mhm.
A lot of them during the 22, 23, I read reports that there were people who work remote. They went to Spain and Portugal and Vietnam and Philippines and bought these Airbnbs, which are very cheap because they were remote. So they were traveling and it was cheap.
Mhm.
Airfare was cheap. Nobody was traveling. You could get an airfare for $500 going to Thailand or Philippines or Portugal at that time. And rooms were so cheap there compared to the currency because, things like in
Mhm.
India, a hotel is much cheaper than over here. So people were working from there because you're remote.
Yeah.
Now they have to come
Yeah.
back. I know a lot of people have to come back and they have to go to work. So
Yes.
but they enjoyed the life.
They're not happy about it.
They were not
Some of
happy.
us, like our generation, is like, this is great. We get our
I know.
social life
I
back,
know.
right?
Yeah.
We love it. We love getting there, having a cup of coffee. But for me, I love the collaboration. I really
Mhm.
do. I grew up in this industry. I was very young when I started in this industry. All my friends are realtors and lenders and title not. I love going to go see them. They're my friends.
Yeah.
Having a cup of coffee. Next thing you know, you're brainstorming. I have this scenario. I have this client. The next thing you know, you're solving the problem because you're surrounding yourself with all the
Exactly.
like-minded people.
Right. Right.
So that's one thing that I think we're going to struggle in the future. I know we're totally going off the topic at this
I
point, but
know.
in the
Yeah.
future, that's one of the things that's going to be a problem if we don't keep that environment. Because where are they getting their information from?
Right.
Internet?
Right.
Well, how viable is that information? Who's sitting there going, okay, you're not qualified to have that conversation? That's wrong information. There's nobody sitting there telling them that you don't have the credential to talk about it or the expertise, because
Exactly.
everybody's an expert right now.
Right, right. Okay. Well, I think we've shared a lot of information. If you have any specific questions, in the description, I have Gucci's information there. Hit her up, call her, email her. You can always contact me. I can refer you to any realtor or lender out there or answer the question myself as long as it's a local market. I can't answer your questions regarding a Dallas or out of state market, but I'm here to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday. And special thanks to you, Gucci. Thanks so much for coming on board. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Any last thing you want to say to our viewer?
Well, pick the right people, look up their credentials, look up their licensing, look up their reviews, Google reviews, and make sure that you're talking to somebody like Mike and I who has a passion for this. And we would love to sit there and dissect your entire life and help you plan your future. So,
Yep.
I always say go out and be great humans. So go be great humans, and thank you for entertaining us.
Thank you, Gucci, for coming. See you next Tuesday.
Bye.